Hey, so just getting into this whole refining thing. It's my makeshift vent hood here. But starting with some gold here. Well, it's actually imported gold. And I am currently boiling it in hot dilute nitric acid. I started off with 300 milliliters of distilled water, and I put 100 milliliters of nitric acid in there, 67%. It's currently been on here for about 15 minutes and is slowly dissolving away. And we now have a nice blue-green, so we know our base metals are going into solution. My vent hood, sorry if it's too loud, but that's the setup so far. Got little gold I did before here. This is really not a lot. This was basically the bottom of a bunch of boards. That was the leftover. I'll show you the main one here. This is the main one. So I'll be interested to see what I get out of that. It's currently in a very, very low solution of, there's a little bit of nitric in there. Most of that's distilled water from rinsing, and then just cotton from the filtration. So this will get a aqua regia bath here soon. See what we can get out of that. I also got some from Gold Pins. That's the leftovers from my new light I just installed. Well, it was $15 on Amazon. Works really well. I want to spray paint the rest of this white so that it's nice and bright, and then I've got a couple of seams that I have to caulk up. And this is just some pins that I pulled off a board that are currently sitting in hydrochloric acid to eat all the tin. So this is like the 4th or 5th go around with hydrochloric acid and hydrogen peroxide mix. And I tried to just separate as much of the gold off as I could and eat as much of that tin so I don't have to deal with that later. And it looks like it's pretty much done eating all the tin. It typically goes real dark. It'll look like that. So I would say it's ready for a nitric acid bath. To dissolve the rest of the base metals and leave us with a bunch of gold foils like this one. So just got my nitric acid in, which is kind of exciting. I've been waiting for that for quite some time now. I'm new to this whole YouTube video stuff too, so forgive me if it's unprofessional. It's definitely a Class A lab, though, I tell you that. So I'll let that sit on there for, I don't know, probably an hour. Come check on it and maybe add some more if I need nitric acid. But it's still got a really nice reaction, so I'm just going to leave it be and check on it in a little bit. Alright, looks like our reaction is stopped. Before I started this up, I put about 75 milliliters back in, so it's waiting to get up to temperature, and you can kind of see the reaction starting to happen. I imagine when it gets all up to temperature, we'll really start to see it go. But this is also my first time in cording, and trying to do it that way. So if my calculations were incorrect, which they most likely were, like I said, it's my first go around, so if I don't have that proper alloy in there that I'm trying to dissolve, I might have to go straight to Aqua Regia, which I'm hoping that's not the case, but like I said, it's my first go around, and well, that's kind of the fun part of this, is it's a learning experience. Speaking of learning experiences, when you get a vent hood, make sure it's not aluminum lined like that, because the vapors really like to destroy that. So that'll be the next fix. But I suppose that's what happens, you know. You live and you learn. You try something, see what happens, go from there. But that's where the mess in my catch pan is from, and you can see a little bit on the top there. So it still works right now, so I'll leave it be. I just have to clean everything up after I'm done every go around. So it's a little bit of a inconvenience, but I'd rather have that than nothing, and just have this all these dangerous gases in my area. So I just got this vacuum pump too. Works pretty good. Well, for what I've used it for, I was using the bigger ball jars, and then just funnel with cotton in there. And I finally made the jump, and to get my Buckner funnel with some appropriate filters. You know, a little gasket here, and then the flask. Most of my projects are small, so 1,000 milliliters is pretty much handles everything that I need it to do. I'd like to get another squirt bottle. So this is regular tap water, and then this is distilled water. I'd like to get another squirt bottle for distilled water, because this really works when you're trying to get stuff out of the bottom of these buckets. Just goes so much faster. You know, and depending on what you're trying to do with the nitric, the hydrochloric, it doesn't really matter, because it's going to spit out silver chloride anyways. But if you got, you know, like if I'm trying to rinse something out in a bigger bucket and you use the tap water, then you got that silver chloride that you got to deal with. So I just do everything I can to keep that in solution. But like I said, that spray bottle was a game changer. I'm going from this, trying to clean out a bucket, just it's not enjoyable. Takes forever, and I feel like you use way more distilled water. So, you know, the tap water's nice. You get it out of your faucet, but you know, I just started this, so I do like a gallon at a time or so. You know, about two at a time. You know, and so I try to minimize my material use so that my profits can be as high as possible, and I think that's going to be the way to go. But obviously this current setup needs much more work, but I guess it's going to be an evolving hobby, and you got to start somewhere. So, but man, it's fun. I'm still not seeing that reaction take off, so I'll try to add it a little more. I'll go with maybe 25 more, get it up to 200 milliliters in there. If I don't see a reaction, I'll end up just saving that, because it's going to be salvageable nitric acid that I can use in a different venue or a different experiment, and then just dunk that in Aqua Regia and go from there. But man, that copper in solution is really cool looking. It's like blue Kool-Aid, but you definitely don't want to drink that stuff. Alright, I'll keep you guys posted. Alright, well, we still don't have any reaction, so I imagine my encording process was not right. So what I'm going to do is turn on my hot plate here, let this cool down for a little bit, and then I will dump all that out, because I do have excess nitric in there that needs to be used. and then I'll go ahead and filter that out, and we'll go, let's see, I don't know what I'm going to do actually. I think we're going to use something else. I think we will do the nitric boil here. So I know we got plenty of stuff in there that needs to go. So I'll utilize the rest of that nitric by dissolving our base metals here, and then go ahead and do some Aqua Regia, dissolve that, and we'll drop it out with some SMB. Alright, I'll keep you posted. So I got that filtering out, a little bit of distilled water in there, collected in my flask. This is just going to cool off, and I'll drop that in there after I pull out that quote-unquote encorded, which was improperly encorded. It must be more of a carat gold now than encorded gold, where it doesn't want to actually dissolve. So we'll see how that goes. We'll investigate it a little further when I pull it out and see what it is, because I know there wasn't that much gold in there. I mean, I wish that'd be nice. That'd be a good chunk, but I don't think that's the case. So let that filter out. Make sure I rinse off all the hydrochloric acid so I don't make any Aqua Regia going in there, so I don't get any gold in solution. And after I'm done rinsing it, like I said, we'll flip-flop, pull everything out of there, and go from there. Alright, I'll keep you posted. Well, I'm not going to say it was a complete failure. So this stuff is pretty crumbly, and it's just basically disintegrating. So I imagine it is not maybe done as well as it could have been, but it did do a lot better than I was thinking. So you can see the colors there. We got a little bit of black, and there's still a little bit of silver in there. So I know it's not perfect, but the majority of that is that nice brown gold color. So it'll be a dirty gold drop, but that's okay. I just got to refine her again. But I'm happy with that. Let's do a little Aqua Regia on that. See what we get. So I started with 200 milliliters of hydrochloric acid, and I just put 20 milliliters of nitric, and we can see a reaction there. And this is going to be a slower process. I don't want to dump a bunch of nitric acid in there and then have to deal with it later. I mean, I do have some sulfamic powder to put in there that we be able to dilute the, if we did have excess nitric acid. But like I was saying before, I try to keep my materials, especially the expensive ones like the nitric acid, to a minimum. So I'd rather put this in as needed, and then dissolve everything 5 milliliters at a time. So if I do go over, which is fine, because I will add a little bit, because then that turns into sulfuric acid and will then precipitate any lead that we have in solution. But I don't want to dump just a bunch of nitric acid in there and then have to dump a bunch of sulfamic acid in there, just to waste material. So alright, we will see what we get here later. Alright, so it looks like that 20 milliliters did pretty good. We're down to just a little bit left, so I'm gonna wait a little bit because it looks like it's still attacking that piece pretty good. Then there's one in the back yet that's still getting a little, that's still having a reaction. And then I just dumped the rest of that, filtered out and rinsed off. Computer pins off. Put that back in here. We're gonna dissolve everything else out of there, all the base metals. Get all in there. Mix. There we go. Good reaction. So, yep. Like I said, there's a lot of nitric left over in there, so we'll continue to let it do its thing there until I only see gold there, and I might even have to add a little more metals just to make sure that we did get all of that nitric out of. So when I go to cement that silver out, we're not just regurgitating the silver that I spit out. So got good color over there, and dissolving away. So that encording actually did a lot better than I thought. So maybe my calculations weren't off. I mean, it's a little darker in color, but you know, I was halfway expecting that solution to be green, you know, but it looks like encording actually did a pretty good job. Could use a little more silver in it next go around, just so that it dissolves nicer, so I don't have to crunch it up like that. But we will see when we go to drop it. But I'd say we're at a good place right now. All right, everything is dissolved. So I'm gonna add some sulfamic acid now before I filter, so we can kind of get these steps in. I don't even see that big of a reaction, so we didn't use too much more. It was like the perfect amount, if I had to say. There's any yeah, a little bit, just in case there's any lead in solution, we'll drop that out. We'll let this cool down a little bit and filter it, and then we'll drop some S&B in there and see what we got for a drop. All right, so I just wet the filter down with a little distilled water, and then I just help kind of seal it up after I turn that vacuum on, just to know we're going to get a good filtration. That's a little bit leftover gold from the last one, so that'll go into the filter paper. I'll catch that, and then I'll save those, and I will redo all the filters all at once, incinerate them, and go from there. So that'll be a fun experiment too. The collection's getting up there, filters from the previous couple of times I've done it, and I still have a big batch of like chips, ICM chips, and flat packs, that kind of thing. So I'll be doing that as well here. I gotta incinerate everything first, but next on the agenda, right? Always gotta have something to do. So we're gonna let this cool down a little bit so I don't fry my filter out. Add a bunch of pulp into solution. That's just more work. So give it a couple minutes to cool down, and we'll go from there. Let's see here. 180 degrees right now. So just under a boil. Some of the research I've done has said that if you boil it, you just boil off the nitric acid versus utilizing the nitric acid. And then other people say that it does its best work while it's boiling. So I guess that's where the experimentation comes into play. Back at it. So I got it filtered. I actually put it through once already and wasn't happy with the clarity of it. So I put a second filter in and running it again, and it's much clearer now. But once this filter is plugged up from picking up all that sediment, I'll run it through again and then try to rinse all that filter, or the whole filter, off. So basically turning it white again to get as much of that gold solution, to collect most of that. And then once I run it through and I've collected as much as I can, filters, I'll keep those. Like I said, we're going to be doing another experiment where I try to collect the gold out of the filters. I will go ahead and transfer that back over to my beaker here. I just rinsed it out with distilled water, and we'll put some SMB in there and drop the gold for the first time. Once I get the rest of all of this, the rest of that gold that I showed you, refined once, I'm going to put back and double refine it all. So I just got to play catch up with the rest of that stuff, and then once I double refine it, I'll be happy, because there's a couple of them that I've done. I've got a melted, like a little button, and it's not pure. You can tell it just has a haze to it. I'm not happy with. But yeah, that is nice and crystal clear. I don't think I'm gonna run that again. I'm happy with that. All right, so here we go. I'll get it all transferred over, and I will spoon some SMB in there and take you along with that. All right, so no heat. Just sitting on the hot plate. It's directly above the vent fan. This also puts out some nasty fumes you don't want to breathe in. So here's some SMB going in. Watch that color change. We're starting to see that white foam at the top, so get rid of that. I think that's good. Let's see here. Get a clean stir rod. Give it a good stir. Make sure we keep all the goods in the beaker. And there we go. Let that sit for a day. See what it looks like tomorrow, and clean it up. You can see that starting to form there. Well, that's definitely a good thing. Alright, so I got the rest of those pins in there. This is our previous, what I'd filtered out of that hydrochloric acid solution. So now, let's see here. We can see the gold foils on the bottom. and I'm just going to give it a little heat. See if we can't absorb anything else out, see if we get a reaction. If not, I'll put a test in there, just a test piece of silver, just to see if we get any reaction. And if we don't get any reaction, I'm going to go ahead, filter that out, and start the cementing process of the silver. All right. Nice little gold button on the bottom there. So like I said, I'll let that sit overnight. All that stuff that's in suspension will settle out. Then I can go ahead and decant the liquid and start the cleaning process. Prep it for round 2. Alright, now, well, this has been probably a half hour. So after I've stirred it, it's all gathered to the center there. Plus, see some on the edge, outside edge, and still suspended in solution. So I'll let this sit overnight without agitating it so that everything can settle. And then after it's settled, I can go ahead and decant the rest of the liquid off and start the cleaning process so we can go for round 2 on refining and see if we can't get that gold nice and pure, at least as close to 3/9 fines as I can get. If we got to do it a third time, we got to do it a third time. My reaction here, oh yeah, look at that, you can still see a bunch of that on the top. That's a good drop. I'm happy with that. And we're still getting a reaction there. So I'll let that do its thing until it's done. I might have to put some more in there. Got another piece of, let's see here, this is just plate, so nothing fancy. And then just some silver necklaces, so I'll just dangle that in there, and when it's stopped being eaten, I will, you just want to pull these off too. Don't have to worry about that tin. Let's see here. Dangle that in there one-handed. Still getting a reaction, so. Just fill that in there. So here we go, cementing our silver out of solution. I just put a couple of pieces of copper in there. So this is just some of the leftover necklaces, and then the majority is going to be that inquartation of the gold from that project, and then a little bit left from the that second batch that I had sitting in the hydrochloric acid. So I got some of that in there as well. Just get those disconnected. Get them from sitting separated. I don't know. She's gonna cooperate. Funny, it landed right on top of each other. What are the chances? Oh well. So yeah, all that that cloud stuff you see there, that's actually silver. So, and it's trading places with this copper that I have in here. So I should have a good chunk of silver. It's not going to be 3/9 fine silver. It'll be most likely 2/9 fine. I'm still in the process of creating the silver cell so that I can get this stuff to 3/9 fine. So if you're going to have something, you might as well have the best, right? Plus it's kind of fun. And then our gold. So I switched it over to the beaker. So that ball beaker, or that, not even beaker, ball jar, I applied some heat to it and it cracked, so sure enough. That'll be the next part of the next purchase, a couple more beakers. But this is all our gold. Starting to settle. So I'll mix zip batch in there with that. And then, like I said, I got one more nugget that I have got so far. It's tiny. It's like 1.6 grams. It's virtually nothing. But I will go ahead and redissolve all this in Aqua Regia and reprecipitate it out and wash it, stir it with boiling hydrochloric acid and then a bunch of distilled water boils, so we can get that nice and clean. So that can be 3/9 fine. Man, I really like watching this copper come out of solution. I think it's one of the coolest things. I refuse to put it in a 5-gallon bucket or even anything plastic that I can't see through. Just because I truly enjoy watching. It's like the second you put it in there, you just watch it rain out of the sky. And it's just pretty cool. I have learned that you need to dilute the solution though, otherwise it just sticks to that copper and then it stops the process. So you think you got it all out the next morning and you really don't, only because there isn't any more copper showing. So I'll let this sit here for the rest of the night. I'll stir it before I go to bed, just to break up that bottom. I also read that those nitrates, your silver nitrate, can get stuck in the bottom of your cement silver and then not come in contact with the silver, so it's still in solution. So it's good to stir it to get all that silver nitrate in touching that copper. Well, and that's a long process, cleaning that up, but it'll be worth it in the end. Cool. I'll keep you posted. Right, so here's some more cementation. Introduce copper into that solution, and let's see, we got a pretty good run on silver. So I'll let that run all night. Gold. So this is a 1 liter beaker, 1,000 milliliters, and we got a good chunk on the bottom. So I'll be pouring this off here in a minute. Let this resettle, and then put it into the temporary stock bucket. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. A lot of focus. And then I'll do a hydrochloric acid bath. Boil it for half hour or so, and then I'll do one more distilled on it. See what we can do to get this to sink to the bottom faster. Let's see here. So it took all night for that stuff to settle yesterday, after I introduced the SMB. but already been 5 minutes and I can almost see the bottom, so it's definitely a little happier with that last bath I got. Here's some of the rinse water and some of the silver contacts that didn't get all the way dissolved, so it looks like there's a bunch of silver chloride in there too, so that's gonna have to get see if I can stir up and then pour out just the silver chloride and then put everything else back in there. I've been collecting that silver chloride here. Not a lot. I prefer not to do the lion sugar method. It's just easier to do this. It just takes a little more time, so not the end of the world, but I do want to get a batch of it and then maybe make a video of it. But this is going to take a while. This is 2 of those jars that I had cemented over last night, and you can see there's a pretty good lump in there. I'd say a couple grams worth anyway, maybe 5. But this still needs to get a good bath. Pooey. Get a good bath. We'll do distilled water rinses and tap water rinses, so nothing crazy there. And then we'll boil it, dry it out, and melt it up. There's one of my old buttons I put in there. I don't know if I can find it for you. Silver buttons. One that I put in before the copper, just to make sure the nitric acid's all used up. Yeah, I can feel it right there. That's gonna get buried. There's no way I'm gonna get that. Maybe. I don't think it's gonna happen. I'll show you when I get it all cleaned up. It's really not that interesting. It's just a silver blob that I burned up in the old dish, so looks like there was maybe a little bit more nitric in there. See that? Fumes coming up, getting sucked in by my fume hood there. But it works pretty good. I don't know if you can see this steam. It goes right in towards that exhaust, so there's occasionally I get a whiff of it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put another one on the other side just to get some good ventilation going, and then eventually like a door. Keep it locked up in here and let it do its thing. One thing at a time. Maybe I'll end up selling this gold once I get it all melted up and refined. And I don't know if you can see, it's already just in the minute I've been yapping at you. It's already gotten a little clearer. So it's definitely a lot cleaner solution than it was. But like I said, I'm gonna refine this one more time. So, but that'll be after the hydrochloric acid boil and then one more distilled boil, and that should be a wrap for the gold. Dry it all out. Basically, get all the moisture out of here or as much water as I can, and then just put it on the cooker there, the hot plate, for, I don't know, however long it takes for it to break up, and then it slides pretty good right out of the bottom of the beaker and into the melt dish. But all right, I'll keep you posted. So this is the last of my distilled water. Basically heated up the distilled water and rinsed the silver off. So that was all the copper that was left on there, but if you take a look at the liquid, it's actually pretty clear coming out, so I'd say I'm happy with that. That's stirring it, all that fun stuff while it's in there, just to make sure we get as much as we can. You know, I'm not 100% worried about it because the silver cell will take care of the rest of it. And I fished my little silver. They don't look so pretty when you take them out of there, but it tells me there was a little nitric acid left over, so it stole some of this. But they usually got a nice, really high shine to them. These all need to be refined yet, anyways. That's not pure by any means. So I just wanted to take them out so when we melt this up, we get an accurate reading of, well, ish, is obviously we did steal a little bit, but it's going to be much more accurate without these guys. I think this is this one was a 4 gram and this one was a 6 gram. So nothing crazy, but that's what they're for. Is, you know, like last night I had them set in there before I put the copper in, just so I'm not eating a bunch of copper up unnecessarily. And this I'll get back when I do put it in there. So works pretty good. It's coming along. That's actually quite a bit more than I was expecting, so I'm happy with that. You know, that coffee filter is about halfway plugged. Wouldn't it be nice if that was gold though, instead of silver? Be a much happier person. One day I want a bar. I want to make one, you know, just have it. But let's see here. Let's see what we got. Still a little hot. Let's see. It's there though. 10 times zoom. A little overkill. But I'd say we probably got another gram. Maybe 2. And nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. So we'll let that cool down some more so I don't burn myself. And keep it under the vent hood, because that hydrochloric acid gas is not fun to breathe, I'll tell you that. Well, so here's my stock pot. That is a lot more gold in there. That's awesome. I'll let that settle and we will take a look from there. So this is the stock pot so far from my homemade stuff. Not very impressive yet. These are the ones that I showed you that I used to make sure my nitric acid is used up. And this is the one that I made today. So it's just a little over 19 grams of silver. So it was actually a lot more than I thought. A little more than half a troy ounce. And here is my gold button. That refining turned out excellent. Nice and shiny. I do want to hit it up one more time just to make sure that it is really good, but man, that turned out good. So I told you before I had a 1.6 gram nugget. I just melted that with this one, which is why this is so big. Now it's at 3.4, so I did a lot better on that end too. But I've got a bunch more in the stock pot, as I showed you, that I must not have put enough SMB in there. But so I put a little more SMB in there, and we'll see if we can get some more out. And that's why it's like a temporary stock pot. I learned that from a couple of guys on YouTube. Definitely helped me out. But man, that looks really happy with that. Well, cool. I got a couple more projects. I got an old bracelet that I'm going to be doing next, and so I'll take you along with that one too. Alright, well, see you next time.